Okay, this morning we want to work from what we were working on yesterday about demand and supply, and we need to look at when we combine demand and supply curves, what do we get? So we are looking at the determination of the equilibrium point. That is the point where the demand curve and the supply curve meet, which we also call the market. Most of you are familiar with the market from this class. We talked about that we have what we call the market price and the market quantity. The market price is what we would call the average price, what everybody is willing to pay, and what every supplier of the product is willing to supply that product for. So our objectives for this class is to understand how the equilibrium is reached, or how that market price and market quantity are reached. We also want to know the location of the market price and the location of the market quantity. The other thing we need to know that equilibrium price and quantity can always tell us when a trader can exchange a good or a service with the buyer of that service. So here we have a table that has the price, which is ranging from 50 to 20, and then we have different quantities and different supplies. So what we need to know out of this data is that where can we have the equilibrium price and where can we have the equilibrium quantity given these prices and these quantities. So here we have our supply curve and our demand curve. So we find that once we plot the data that we had in the previous table, everybody who is familiar with that table, we come to a point where the two are meeting. And where these two are meeting, we find that we have the quantity, the equilibrium point at 500 and the equilibrium price at 35. So that becomes the quantity that the sellers are willing to sell and the buyers are actually willing to pay that 35, because that's what the sellers of the product are willing to supply the product. Now, the other thing we need to understand is that at a point between this part here, that is where the trader of the service and the buyer of the service are actually willing to exchange. So this is a trade zone. This side here is not trade zone. Either the seller of the product is losing or the buyer of the product is losing. So they don't want to engage in trade. So there will not be any trade on this side over here. So our next slide here is that we can actually decide to increase the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied by 200, and we see if the quantity or if the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity are going to change. So let's look at what that gives us. That actually brings us to another location whereby we have the equilibrium quantity being 700 and the equilibrium price being 35. At the same time, we have a trading zone and a no trading zone. So anything this side we can trade, anything this side we can't trade, but so that we are not going over our equilibrium point. Do we have any questions at this point that we need to clarify? I guess everybody has gotten this. I'm going to refer you to problem set number 1 that I want you guys to be working on, and once you're done with that, you submit it through your eCampus, and then once I look at it, I should be able to see whether you have understood this part of the assignment and the lecture as we have presented it. So that's it for now. I'll see you guys next week. Okay? All right. Take care.